Authenticity. What does it look like to be an authentic leader and a better boss in business? That's what we'll dive into today on Boss Beat. Boss Beat, a latte of leadership for those seeking to be and build better bosses in business. I'm Ben, and yes, I do like my bees. Now, today's story is going to lead off with a talk about this gentleman, Howard Behar. If you don't know Howard, let me tell you a little bit of his background. He began working for a large furniture company out in the Seattle area, and he worked there for many years and got a big promotion one day to an executive leadership role. And the sort of celebration they were having for him, the CEO pulled him aside and said, big opportunity for you here. There's a big new challenge ahead of you. Congratulations. And you need to change. No more wearing your heart on your sleeve, they said to him. Now, this kind of broke Howard's heart. He was very disappointed to hear this because he'd always been a very passionate individual. He loved being his authentic self at the workplace. He loved being open about who he was and what he believed and being very passionate about the work that they were doing. So wearing his heart on his sleeve, which was sort of perceived as a negative, he felt was a strength in his leadership. Sure enough, he eventually didn't feel right in that role and left the organization. He left to join a small company you may have heard of called Starbucks. And yes, it actually was small at that time. I believe only about 28 stores when he joined the organization. In his tenure at Starbucks for over 21 years, he led Starbucks' domestic business as president of North America. He was also the founding president of Starbucks International. He helped grow the organization from originally 28 stores to over 15,000 stores spanning 5 continents. He was on Starbucks' board of directors for many years before retiring. Now he advocates for servant leadership. I think back to that time when he was working for that furniture company and wonder if they realized what a great leader they let go by just not letting him be his authentic self. When Howard and I were both speaking at an engagement a while back, we met over a coffee, Starbucks, of course, and Howard shared this story with me. It made me think about what an incredibly authentic individual he was. It made me wonder how many companies miss out on great leaders because they're trying to force them to be something they're not. I think of quarterbacks in the NFL because I'm a football guy, and one of my favorite all-time quarterbacks was Donovan McNabb. He was a quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was one of the first quarterbacks who was really that dual threat. He was a famous quarterback for being an amazing passer and amazing runner. But the team and the staff kept trying to force him to be something he was not. They wanted to protect him, and they wanted to keep him in what they call a pocket passer, somebody who stayed in the pocket and didn't use their legs. They tried to make him into something he was not, and he never really achieved what I felt could have been his greatest moments, though he was an awesome quarterback. Anyhow, what's even worse than organizations that lose out on these great leaders is those who have great leaders, but they're not really great. They're only doing mediocre work because they are not being their authentic selves. So how can you be authentic and help your company build better bosses by boosting authenticity? Well, let's take a look at a couple attributes of authenticity. First, having a servant's heart. Deep down, are your leaders, those you're trying to build, and yourself, do you have a passion and a purpose for serving others? I mentioned already that Howard Behar now does this for a living. He now focuses on advocating servant leadership. And in his work, he's come across the same thing that the majority of great leadership experts in general, great leadership practitioners, they all say the same thing. They all advocate for serving others first. That includes in business. It's not just a soft thing. Instead, it's a very hard fact data. Are the people serving others first, or are they self-serving? All great leadership experts advocate this. They might use different terms, they might use different phrases or descriptors, but it all comes down to having a servant's heart as being foundational to great leadership. Second attribute is encouraging individuality. If you cannot be yourself where you are, you will never be as great of a leader as you could be in an organization where you feel comfortable being yourself. The same is true of those you serve. They may be doing a fine job now. They may even be doing an excellent job. But if they don't feel like they can be their true, authentic self in the workplace, they'll never be as great as they could be. Okay, now, when we look to build better boss behaviors in ourselves and in our teams, who can we look to? I'm a big fan of James C. Hunter. He wrote the book The Servant. He wrote, "We must never forget that people buy into the leader before they buy in to a mission statement." We must never forget that people buy into the leader before they buy in to a mission statement. If you're not your authentic self, you're going to have a hard time sustaining that support of followers that you need to be a great leader, to be a great boss. However, if you're your authentic self and people are supporting you and buying into what you are supporting, then you're going to have a much greater long-term results and long-term success. So, what are some questions that we can ask ourselves and those we serve to ensure that we are building these better boss behaviors? First, are you comfortable being your authentic self at work? If not, what do you need to change? And second, how are you encouraging others to be their authentic self? Every day on Boss Beat, we cover one of the 7 principles of great leadership. They're populating on your screen now. Selflessness, empathy, virtuousness, authenticity, nonpartisanship, and thoroughness. Why? We follow this acronym model of servant leadership because we don't want you to just take my word for it. This isn't just something I think is right based on my experience. It's based on hundreds of attributes from dozens of the greatest leadership experts and practitioners, including modern or contemporary business examples like Mr. Behar. If you like this sort of content, please check out modernservantleader.com. There's tons of free content here. It's my personal calling and mission in life to build better bosses and help others avoid bad boss behaviors. So please check out modernservantleader.com. Until next time, I'm Ben Lichtenwellner. Keep serving, my friends.